Hi, Misha here, and this video is brought to you because, frankly, Sean of T91 Tactical is a pretty awesome guy. Recently, done a few videos on the Taiwanese T65 parts kits brought over by HKParts and sold. Some people love them, some people think they're overpriced and or beat up. Hey, everyone's opinion is valid, frankly. I think they're cool, but I do understand the price point, and the condition is not always to people's liking. Regardless, that kind of started off the process. When I was looking into the original video, there's a lot of contradictory stuff about the T65 and the T65K2. Now, we know the K2 is a follow-on and an improved version, but sources kind of disagree as to how it is the same and differs from the original. So, long story short, I got this from T91 Tactical. Now, they've been talking about doing a T65 either as a kit or a complete gun for a number of years. Unfortunately, because of recent history, they are short a couple of parts. So unfortunately, this is still not on the market. But I was able to beg or borrow one of their prototypes as a loaner. So unfortunately, I've got to send this back. But I will get to do a couple of shooting videos with both of these. But in this one, just because I'm excited, I thought let's kind of compare and contrast the features and history of each. And also, just because, at the end, we'll also compare and contrast a Wolf A1 upper frame assembly to the T91 Tactical T91 upper frame assembly. So, we'll do a few things here. Mostly just hanging out, talking about, honestly, the most battle-tested, piston-driven AR-15 in the world to date. Because, yeah, these started off all the way back in late 60s. At that time, the Factory 203, the Combined Logistics Command, started producing the M14 as the T57, but they really wanted to go to a 223 5.56 gun, which was new tech at the time. So the idea started in 1968. By 1973, this project here really took hold, and the first prototypes appeared in 1975. And in 76, the initial T65 was adopted, and as I've said in other videos, the 65 designator is for the Republic of China, the Taiwanese calendar. That's just how the years work out. So this was the initial version. And then the K2 came out as an improved version. Now, some places say in 1979, but a few other places say 1987. I tend to believe 1987, and in this video I'll kind of explain my logic. But I could be wrong. Please accept that. But I believe this is, an 80s model, which would replace the original. So with that, let's, compare and contrast these two guns. How they are actually very similar and very different. Beginning at the buttstock, they have this interesting shape to them. Now this is an unused stock. This is of course a pretty well used one, but you can see it has this kind of pebble grain finish. Very interesting. Both of them have a steel butt plate with the trapdoor for a cleaning kit. Sling Swivel. So that's mostly the same. There is a difference we'll talk about when we flip them over. Looking here, we have the standard T-type charging handle. That's the same. We have the same hollow, no cleaning kit compartment, pistol grip. The lowers would have been the same, both A1 style. It is worth pointing out that the original T65 used pretty standard 20 and 30 round mags, but with the T65K2, they did kind of go to a more unique pattern, at least later in its production, that has these stops on it here, and it has some witness holes for the ammunition, very similar to a standard mag, but both are Stanite compatible, but there are some differences there. But the big difference you'll see with the receiver, both of them are A1 port door style, no forward assist. The 65 has a windage adjustable sight. It also has a flip up sight here, and then it's a flat top. With the K2, we have the same windage adjustable sight. No longer we have the flip up night sight. Notice they've made the wheel grooved on the edges, easier to grab. This one is serrated but round. This one's a lot easier to grab. And of course this has a integrated carry handle, and it has a wheel here, a screw here for mounting an optic in this channel. So there is a difference there. This is more optics compatible than this would be, and you get a carry handle. Moving forward, these are the original pattern of handguard. They're kind of smooth. They do have cooling holes in the top and bottom. The short stroke gas piston runs along top. They both disassemble the same with a screw on top, but you'll notice this handguard is a little different shape. It's kind of an inverse. This has indentions, and this has areas where it's pronounced out, so kind of a reverse. Also, internally, this just has some kind of reflective paint inside to work as a heat shield. Obviously, it didn't work so great, so this has true and actually heavy-duty heat shield inside. Very nice. The front sights assemblies are very similar. Flip up night sight here. Same on this one, although this one's a lot stiffer. Yeah, really stiff. Both take M16 bayonet lugs, or bayonets, excuse me. And both have a 20-inch light profile barrel. Now the flash hider on the T65 is pretty standard M16A1. On the T65K2 though, it is a flash hider and has compensator holes in the back. Now this might look like a T91 flash hider, but there's actually a couple of major differences we'll compare in a bit. It has a lock nut behind it, a check nut to come up on it to tighten it down, and it is meant to be put off center to work as a compensator, kind of like a Daewoo K2. Another difference you can't readily tell looking externally, the original T65, like most all 223 guns at the time, has a 1 in 12 twist rate. That was for the original 55 grain. In Europe, you would see a few guns like the ROC and the French FAMAS that had a 1 in 9, but 1 in 7 wasn't really standardized really didn't start to appear to the very late 70s and wasn't standardized within NATO until the 80s, between, 80 and 85 depending on the nations. And the K2 has a 1 in 7 twist for the SS-109. This is why I feel like the 87 date for the T65K2 is probably more accurate. 1979 would just be very early for any nation to go to a 1 in 7 twist for SS-109, especially one in Southeast Asia that only recently had begun production of their gun at all. So that is kind of my logic. You may agree or disagree. With that, let's flip these over and continue. Here's the other side of the flash headers here. Even though they both use a 20-inch barrel, the K2 ends up being longer because of the longer compensator and flash hider device versus the flash hider only on the 65. Coming back here, though, we can see an interesting difference. The original 65 has an interesting sling swivel that can rotate either from the bottom or the top or the side, kind of giving either position. I think it's neat, but it would rattle around a lot and potentially be more prone to breakage. And you'll notice with the K2 here, it's now just a fixed simple swivel on the bottom, more M16A1A2 style. I don't know, I found that small difference quite interesting. And you'll see it again on the buttstock. The rear swivel on this rotates to the side, kind of M14 style. So yeah, it can be either slung bottom or to the side. Whereas on the K2, it is a very much fixed swivel, does not move at all. The same shape of swivel, just, yeah. And flipping these over, we can see the other side. I have this one just on a generic A1 lower. This is on a Taiwanese lower. These are brought over as 80%ers. Now, to be fair, this actually has the T91 markings because it's a modern lower, not a K2. So that's one small inaccuracy, but it is at least the correct Taiwanese A1 part. Another difference we can see on this side, the original T65 had a safe, semi, and full auto selector. Whereas the K2 introduced a four-way selector. Safe, semi, auto, or burst, auto, and then rotate around. This is semi-auto only, don't worry. It just has the four-way selector for cosmetic purposes. But that's one interesting difference, four-way selector versus 3 on the original. The gas piston system, the bolt group, and the buffer, the internals essentially are all the same. And here's the top of the T65, the original. Here's our flip up low light or night sight. Notice it's just a smooth top here. And here is the screw provided by HKParts. So this is a replacement part because the originals were lost. They're destroyed during the demo. Here's the holes for the gas tube and all that. I wanted to show you that because here we have the original from T91 Tactical on the K2. Here's our attachment for a scope. And here's their screw, which is again the original screw. I actually think HKParts did a very good job of matching them up, and functionally they're identical. This screw you undo so you can get to your gas piston under here for cleaning. There are the holes on the updated handguard. That was really one of the big improvements of the K2. So in addition to being compatible with the SS109 because of the 1-in-7 twist and giving you more fire mode options, they just tried to make the pole gun more reliable and dependable and durable with the T65K2. And it was certainly in service by the mid to late 80s, and this was the standard service rifle of both the Army and the Marines for decades. And they built at least 100,000 and perhaps more. In production, of course, of the original T65 would give way to the T65K2, and while Taiwan, the Republic of China, was the major user, they had quite a few export contracts, mostly to South American and Middle Eastern nations. And this would continue to be the standard until the late 90s. First, there was an attempt to adopt the T86 Carbine to replace it, but they made fewer than 5,000 of those. It wasn't until the T91 was introduced that finally a true replacement came about. But that wasn't until the early 21st century, and of course it would take years to fully re-equip the armed forces. Today, as far as I know, maybe with the exception of some training, the original T65s are out of service. The T65K2 is still in use by the Taiwanese Air Force, like air base guards and what have you. It's also used by some reserve units, and it's used in soldier training, recruit training, familiarization, and all that. So the K2 is still around, but I don't think the original one would be because of the 1-in-12 twist versus the 1-in-7 and having different fire mode selectors and all that. Again, this is a very battle-proven gun. This was one of the very first military-spec piston-driven AR-15s. Of course, the piston is borrowed almost whole cloth from the AR-18, AR-180. The internals are very much M16. And licensing, probably not so much. They had the license from the U.S. for the M14, but this was a domestic, this was an indigenous design that they felt they needed because of their oh-so-friendly neighbor, communist China. Again, I'm very appreciative to T91 Tactical as a loaner, the one we will be shooting. And again, I'm very appreciative to HKParts for all their efforts on their guns as well. And it's great to be able to finally compare point to point the different types and variations here of the guns, because it's really hard to find. And with that, while we're at it, let's look at the Wolf A1 upper and the T91 Tactical T91 upper. So let's set our T65K2 away so we can compare T91 uppers. These are both 14.5 inches, which is a good length if you don't want to SBR, because if you pin and weld the flash hider compensator on, you're easily over 16 inches. The T86 Carbine actually had a shorter barrel than this, but when the T91 was decided to be standard issue, they went to longer profile. So yeah, this is the T91 Tactical assembled upper. And this is the Wolf A1 upper. This has the carry handle side on it. Just, of course, unscrews. It's on a pick rail. And this has the simple rear side. Neither upper comes with the rear as such, so you know, it's whatever you buy. The Wolf, as far as I know, has only been offered with the synthetic handguard. The T91 you can either have with that handguard or the modern M-lock rail type here. Pretty neat. It's a pretty lightweight alloy. So let's flip these over. Nothing much special to see on this side either. Both of them still have an A1 looking port door. No forward assist because you don't need one. Pick rail, dirt, and dirt. Now they both have the same flash hider. Original production, first run production A1's from Wolf had a more conventional flash hider, but later ones did come with the style you see here. Also, they originally did a 16-inch barrel, and as far as I know they still do. There was a heavier profile with the 14.5-inch. They went to a somewhat thinner profile. I believe this is 18 millimeter at the block. But with the T91, they use a Taiwanese spec barrel. It's thinner even still, about 15 millimeter at the block. And it has a step in the barrel here. And let you see the markings, hopefully. And the Wolf is pretty devoid. Now the gas block on this Wolf actually came from T91 Tactical and was installed some time ago, but I did dig in my parts bin and find the original one that Wolf put on them. Here it is. Totally different sling swivel, and it's a two-piece front sight. From what I've read, this was actually the style used on the earlier T86 and also the T91S perhaps, which was a different variant. But this is what Wolf puts on. Notice there's no bayonet lug or small pick rail. Either version here. Here's our little rail and standard lug. That, like I said, I had to add to the A1, but the T91 comes with the rail and lug from them directly. Also, you get the movable sling swivel, and you'll notice the different diameters. This is straight here, whereas this has a bit of a step here. This was done to work with the different barrel profiles. And yeah, picking these up even with the metal rail handguard, this is a lighter front end for sure. Here is the pin and weld job done by T91 Tactical to make this legal to put on any lower. Perfectly Good little job there, but also visible so no one will have any questions if your barrel is legal. Good stuff. I like these simple rear sides too. They come off quite easily. They're meant to be QD. And let's look at the bolt carriers, bolt groups. This is out of the Wolf. Notice how this is, part of the carrier. I guess you call it gas key. Not really sure. No cuts for forward assist because we don't have one. And it is standard uncut in the back and has a little bit of chamfering back here, a little beveling to work as a piston gun. Here's our T91 Tactical carrier. Much the same. And also clearly uncut. But yeah. And since we're dealing with just uppers, that's pretty much it. Just filling on the field feed ramps here. Again, both A1 port doors. And there you have it. Yeah, the T91 is the standard within China, the Republic of China, Taiwan today. And just for fun, I've mocked up a T91 lower here by putting the 3-position stock and the modern grip on a brand new uncut 80% lower right out of Taiwan. Because I wanted to talk about a couple of differences, and here's the same lower type, just finished out. So in addition to going from a fixed stock to a 3-position collapsible, and from going from a rifle length gas piston to a carbine, there are some major updates. Yeah, they went to a pick rail instead of the carry handle. But to get to the gas piston on the T65, you've got to unscrew it here, take it from the top, kind of like on an AR-18. On a T91 though, you can press the button here and just pull it all out as a packet. I've done that in several videos, so you can check those out. And I wanted to talk about the flash hider, muzzle device compensator, because they are different, although they might look the same at first. On the T65K2, you have 2 ports, and then you have a large gap, and then your flash hider. On the T91, you have 3 smaller ports, and then a small gap, and then your flash hider. And I believe the small gap is actually meant to be for a grenade ring, but I could be wrong. I'm sure the multiple smaller holes, well, they're about the same size, but they seem a little bit, so there, are little differences. So that's how you can easily tell a T65K2 from a T91 flash hider. And just to confuse things more, there's also the XT97 hider and a T86 hider. And of course, the original T65 is kind of a standard bird cage. Also, of course, you have the original, more or less, M16A1 style grip, hollow, on the original rifle. But at the time of the T91, they went to a more modern ergonomic with a storage compartment. Although it's still very reminiscent of an A1. And you can have either the plastic or the rail handguards, your choice. And here's the stock fully collapsed in. Notice the lower already comes with the Cantonese, maybe it's Mandarin. I think it's Cantonese though, markings, which is neat. Again, here it is all finished out. I don't know why they use those style of pins instead of standard, but that's what T91 Tactical did. Of course, the rifle is quite a bit longer than the carbine and, generally speaking, heavier. So it's kind of up to you. As I said at the beginning, T91 Tactical has been trying for, good grief, 4 years now to bring these to reality, but because of COVID, supply shortages, import issues, who knows? Hopefully they'll happen. They're still needing some parts, but I think we all would really love to see them. But at least they did get their uppers in, something that took them a couple of years to finally get out because they wanted the true military style ones. Sorry, hang on a sec. My bolt has slid into the hollow tube. And they do offer the T91 uppers in a few different barrel lengths. 14.5 inch and 12.5 come to mind. They also do a 16 inch with a heavier target style barrel that Sean says has produced some pretty great accuracy. So that'll be cool to check out for target guys. Here's our 80% lower. Notice that none of that's machined out, so you'll need to do all that, and then of course you'll need to serialize it. But the good news is threads for like the pistol grip and stock are already done, and these screwed on absolutely perfectly, real clean threads. And so yeah, nicely done, machined lower blanks here. And that's really all I can say about that because YouTube, so no instructions here what to do. And if you do finish one out or have a gunsmith do it, be sure to serialize it and follow all local, state, city, county, street, house laws, all that good stuff. So final thoughts. First, Wolf A1 upper versus T91 Tactical upper. Again, keeping in mind, this was the sight base that came on the Wolf. Now, to be fair, guys, I haven't bought a Wolf A1 upper in a long time, so I could be out of date. I'm going with what I knew when this came in. And this is their thinner profile. Their 16-inch barrels are heavier than this, so be aware. The T91 Tactical has a thinner profile barrel, nicely marked, and you can get it pin and welded. The Wolf you can get 16, 14.5, 12, what is it, 10.5? I don't know. You can look it up. As far as I know, the Wolf only comes with these handguards. The T91 Tactical gives you a couple of handguard options. Neither one comes with a device. Internals look the same, but the Wolf is going to be marked here. T91 Tactical is pretty bare because it's an upper. It doesn't have to be marked. I would say easily the T91 has more options and better quality, but, and this is normal times, we're not talking crazy COVID times, the Wolf A1 was a $550 upper. The T91 is a $900,000 upper. So it's up to you. Now again, the good thing, you can get it already pre-pin and welded, and you can get the right gas block front sight base on it. So if you want those features, if by the time you got a Wolf, swapped this for this, paid for that, paid for a gunsmith, you would be in at $900 to $1,000. So if that's what you want to do, no big deal. If that doesn't matter to you, then maybe you'll be happy with the Wolf A1. But I have heard, personally, I've had good experience with the Wolf A1 uppers, but some people claim some odd quality control. So take it as you will. The T91s are produced essentially by hand by a company that really has been pushing to do the best they can. So even if you got one and the quality was meh, I would trust Sean to fix it immediately with great apology, but their QC seems greater. So it's up to you, but for me, yeah, I like the T91 Tactical upper. Although I might take these handguards off and swap them here. We'll see. And with that, what about the T65 and T65K2? How do those compare? Speaking in terms of just the original military guns, the K2 is a clear improvement. You get a flash hider compensator as opposed to just a flash hider. You get handguards that are more durable with the heat shield versus not. And you get a carry handle with an optics mount versus essentially a flat upper. The rear sights are very similar, although the windage knob is a little improved on the K2. I do like the rotating sling swivels of the original, but I can understand why they simplified it for durability and, frankly, noise. But it is a neat feature. I think it just makes it distinctive. And I do kind of like the flip-up night sight that is essentially gone from the K2. As far as for a civilian, obviously you're going to say the T91 Tactical K2 is better. I mean, this is built from new condition or close enough parts. And this is, yeah, well-used parts out of South America. But the T65 kits from HKParts do have one major advantage. They're here. They're available. They may not be cheap, but they exist. Unfortunately, as of right now, the T65K2 kits are still not available from T91 Tactical. Through no fault of their own, it's just they haven't been able to source all the parts. I know one thing that's hard to get a hold of is the handguards for them. And who knows what these might cost by the time, if they even come to market. It would be nice to think they will be cheaper than these, but there's no guarantee of that. Now both take standard AR-15 lowers, and both take standard 20-inch pencil profile barrels. So equal there. Obviously, if we had our choice, I think most of us, would go with the K2 for the design improvements it has and the overall condition. But there is something to be said for the been there, done that look, and I do like early generations, and profile-wise, I do like the flat top look of this better. Carry handle's neat, but a little more conventional. They both have the cool curvy buttstock that I like, so yeah. And the pistol grip's the same. They are very similar. They really are. So I know that's not a definitive answer, and it's pretty obvious, but why not compare? I'm thrilled to finally be able to get hands on a T65K2 semi-auto. Hell, I'm thrilled to get hands on a T65. These are guns that even a few months ago were just not even a thing and are rare in the USA. So I'm excited to see builds people do with the HKParts kits. HKParts kits, haha. And I really do hope that T91 Tactical is able to progress this and at least build a few hundred for the US market. And this is what makes guns fun. Being able to line everything out. All 3 generations of Taiwanese Republic of China service guns. From the original T65 from the 70s, which is analogous to the M16A1, to the T65K2 of the 80s, which is analogous to the M16A2, and the T91, which is a modern 21st century short rifle carbine, analogous to the M4. Plus, we even have some of the original OEM mags. Are they any better than standard mags? No, but it's just neat to have factory accessories when you can get them. Really fun guns. I like the recoil impulse on these, and they are very reliable. They are battle tested. These have been used by the Taiwanese military in hopes that it won't ever have to defend itself against invasion, but they've been used in places like the Middle East for various conflicts and wars. And even though the T65 had a few issues, hey, it was the first effort from Factory 203. They very quickly corrected them with the T65K2. It was a great rifle, and they continued it by just making further great simplifications and improvements with the T86 and the T91. I especially do like how the gas system just comes out the front, the packet style. And with that, one more time, I'm very much appreciative to HKParts for all their help with their kits. In the process of building a couple for friends. It's going pretty good. And this was something loaned by Sean that he absolutely had no reason to do except just to be nice, and because he knew that it's something I was really eager to get my hands on, and now I know, because it's not like I can look at pictures. So to really know things like this scope mount system, of course I have to hold it. And yeah, going to be doing a few builds with the T91 Tactical uppers once I finish out these lowers. And they'll be great little piston guns, and frankly, I think every bit as good as an HKMR556, and a lot lighter weight too. But we've talked about that in past videos. And we will get to the range with all of these, but, you know, these just came in. I was excited, and I hope that kind of comes across in videos. When I feel enthusiastic about something, I really do enjoy sharing it. If you've done a T91, please share your experience. We've always had a lot of fun doing these guns. The parts are easy to find, not terribly expensive, and usually go together with little to no fuss. And the T65s have proven interesting to build, especially with the used parts. Some good, some bad aspects, but it's always a good learning experience, and at least it's something new. And it's nice that 2021 has started to give us stuff, because I gotta tell you, 2020 was boring. So it's nice to have something. And with that, folks, I'll let you go. Appreciate, as always, you hanging out with me. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them, and we'll do our best to answer. And if you could, like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel, please check out the link to the Patreon page. And check back, hopefully, soon for some range footage and reports from each of these. This is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon next time.